Hey guys, Kyle here. So, just before the show starts, I wanted to mention our Patreon. You can pay us $1 a month as a thank you, as a tip. You can pay $2 a month to get access to one of our bonus content shows, episodes 2 days early, and a secret Discord chat where all of our Patreon donors get to go and hang out and talk with us directly. Then there's a $5 tier that you can donate to get access to a whole bunch more content. We have multiple bonus episodes on there. So please check it out. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We don't advertise, we don't make money. So check it out and throw some money if you think that would be cool. Thanks.
Welcome to It Gets Weird, our comedy show where we explore the unusual, the unbelievable, and the unexplained to try to make your world a little weirder. I'm Niall.
And I'm Kyle. And up front, I would just like to announce that It Gets Weird. I'm so excited. I know you're excited too, Niall. I'm so excited to announce It Gets Weird is rebranding.
Okay. Yeah. We've talked about this off mic, but I didn't know we were launching this today.
We're doing it this episode, and I'm so excited to announce that the new brand for It Gets Weird is going to be called Z. The letter Z.
Yeah. Not Z.
Not Z. No,
we're not. This is not international. Might be known as Z internationally.
Yeah. No. The British are going to have to get used to it. And
they got to adapt to America for once.
The Europeans are going to have to fucking deal with it. And you know,
we're still bitter about the meter.
Yeah, but yeah, you know, It Gets Weird. We're going to be Z now. We thought long and hard about this, and we were like, well, what's the rarest and most interesting alphabet letter? And Z is probably the weirdest one. That's a weird letter. It's in all kinds of weird words like zigzag and
zoetrope.
Zoetrope's a good one. Xylophone is one that's really like pretty weird.
And also, that one is also one that pretty famously starts with a Z, with an X.
I thought it was
Z.
Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna maybe petition
Zither.
Zither's a good one. Zither. Xylophone, I think we're going to maybe petition the dictionary people to get that one fixed up, because that doesn't make a lot of sense. You know?
Will get banned from listening to Z if you don't spell xylophone with a Z.
Yeah, if for whatever reason you're emailing us about xylophones, you better be spelling that shit with a Z. And I am not fucking playing around with this one. But yeah, I don't know. I just figured and this podcast, it's going to be more than a podcast now. You know, we're going to get into like global markets. Banking, I think, is one of the things we're looking at. You know, we're kind of like the invisible hand, if you will. And I'm really excited about it. So look forward to more episodes of Z and our banking platform that we're putting together. Get excited, people. Niall.
Yeah. I was just going to talk about how we're a year old now because we're on episode 365.
Oh, shit, that's true.
But yeah, the rebranding. It's good to get that shit out there before we gotta start that now, because I think much like some other recent events, someone probably already has the Twitter X handle of @Z, so we got to figure that out. Maybe we can steal that as well.
Yeah, and by the way, the email messages that you send to us and our Discord messages, they will be called Zeets, Zeet. That's another important thing. And again, if you don't use our terminology, if you don't adapt to the new system that we kind of are putting out here, you will be banned. You will be kicked. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to figure it out. I have your IP address.
Jesus. I have to say I'm behind this. This is all part of the brand. This is what we're doing, and we decided upon this ahead of time.
I would not have brought it up on the show right off the bat if you weren't 100% behind it. So thank you, Niall.
Yeah, co-signed.
Yeah.
So, Kyle, we're in the plan is still to do a podcast, right? Because we're still doing that.
That's part of it, for sure.
Because today, Kyle, I wanted to do. It's not exactly a part 2, but it's a kind of a follow-up thing.
Okay.
We're going to talk about the great Derrell Sims, the alien hunter, today.
Okay, this is the guy who
he wrote that comic about the little pig in black and white, and he was like a weird sexist later on in life, like a weird misogynist, right? Or,
yeah, it takes his magnum opus, Cerebus.
Thank you.
Really gets kind of like anti-feminist in the 9th volume.
That's weird.
So tap out long before then.
Pretty strange.
No, this is. Oh wow, David Sims poll. All right. Is that his name? No, David Sims is the fucking blank check host.
Isn't he Dave Sims?
Dave Sims. That's what it is. Thank you.
So,
yeah,
all right. I didn't know this guy had a whole alien hunting side hustle on top of being an anti-feminist comic booker.
Yeah. Man, that was one of those like most like complete milkshake duckings where it's like everyone's like, oh, this really great kind of parody sword and sorcery book, indie book, like passion project thing. Oh shit, this went off the rails.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So speaking of off the rails,
okay,
Derrell Sims. Let's talk about this guy because I did not really know him before I started researching alien implants. I started talking about Dr. Roger Lear last week or 2 weeks ago at this point, I think. We went all through kind of his the alien implant surgeries, removing alien implants from people, and trying to get physical proof of alien life and alien visitation and abduction. So I, then stumbled into Derrell Sims' work and his role as the alien hunter that is just fantastic, and wanted to dig deeper into him because as soon as I started to look into him, there's like this entirely separate. He contains multitudes. He's worthy of his own episode. This guy is all over the fucking place.
Hey, you're putting him on par with Walt Whitman right now.
What?
That's the I can contain multitudes guy.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure. No, I definitely wasn't just using that as like a phrase.
Sure, sorry,
but
I'm
no,
sorry.
You're good.
Please forgive me.
I started to look into Derrell Sims, and I started to get really frustrated because most of the stuff that I was finding was like just his recounting of his life. It's like
I've been in this sinkhole before. I can imagine how this went.
Yeah, and so like I found, I have his like 2 separate biographies on his website. I found him doing a full like recounting of his first alien encounter. Like I had all that stuff, but I was unable to find a lot of like other people writing about the guy that weren't just press blurbs for him appearing on a Discovery Channel show,
Yeah.
And then I found this I forget exactly where I found it, but it was this thing called "Who Will the Real David Sims Please Stand Up" or something. It was an archived article on our favorite archive of the weird online biblioteca that was linked. It was linked inside one of their articles to a Wayback Machine backup of an old web forum. The web forum itself, it's called Brother Blue. It's this whole thing that I'm going to do an episode on eventually if I can if I can get enough info about it. It's one of those things. I'm realizing that because of how ufology has continued throughout the rise of the internet, that there's probably these people that we look at and are like, oh, these are UFO research and everything. They definitely have UFO board drama from Netscape era and shit.
Yeah, there's UFO board drama from the 80s with bulletin board messaging.
Yeah, and so the Brother Blue thing is like a group that tried to be like an internet mystery school kind of thing, but also like a message board, or maybe not quite a message board, but a community online. Mm-hmm. And I have to, it's a whole other thing. I that was my big rabbit hole that delayed me having my notes ready because I thought it was going to be a part of this thing and turned into an entirely separate thing.
I know exactly how this goes. Everything you just described is so... That's what it's like researching this stuff. And I gotta say, some of the best sources that I've had in doing this show have come from web forums, like Above Top Secret and stuff like that. Just people who have collected weird archived shit and posted it and discussed it. It's always the best way to find stuff on these kinds of topics, for sure.
Yeah, you gotta love it. Like it's so basically what I was able eventually able to find some information, not just from the man himself, which is what ended up being a really nice look into the Texas UFO community during his, maybe not entirely fair to, but maybe entirely fair to say, reign of terror. And so I got really fascinated by this thing, like the like inner machinations of it's the Houston UFO Network, the HUFON.
Oh, okay.
In this era where it seems like they were getting up off their feet and Derrell Sims was like milking them dry. It's so we're going to go through some stuff today about this guy, because not only is he also in looking up this stuff, I found some more of how he and Roger Lear got involved and kind of the dynamics of their relationship that I didn't have last episode. So strap in, it's gonna be fun.
Do you think they ever explored each other's bodies?
I will look for it. If the transcriptions of the surgeries that I read,
right.
that were in there, are anything, they did like to do a little bit of exploring.
Nice.
And sometimes
that's not what I
they're
was talking about, but that's cool too, I guess.
No, it's just that the reason that came to mind is there's specifically a thing during the first surgery, I believe, that where there's Dr. Roger Lear is just quoted as saying, "We're going exploring," and it is stuck in my head because the surgery took them like 45 minutes to find an alien implant inside one toe. Ugh. And so they were just digging in this, I think this woman's toe for like 45 minutes looking for because it ended up having like I forget what the membrane is called that develops around like a foreign object, but it's not the one that's like awful. It's just the one that kind of covered it. It took them a while to find it.
Jesus, dude, you're okay. Can I be gross for a second?
Yeah.
This is going to be gross warning to the listeners. In high school, when we were in marching band together, I had an ingrown toenail on my big right foot toe, and it got really bad. And I ended up having to go to the doctor, and they fucking injected in the webbing of my feet and all that stuff to numb me, and then they cut my fucking toe and just scooped out all the infected shit. So, and that took like 15 minutes. So the idea of somebody rooting around in your fucking toe for 45 minutes sounds like an absolute nightmare.
Yeah. Every like, I don't know, once every 2 days, just we're going exploring has just popped into my brain.
God.
Yeah. So anyway, that not to go back to that too much, but it just all right. So let's start with kind of the man as he sees himself, because I want to start with the story that is the public, what he puts out to the world. I read a little bit of this on the last episode as a teaser thing, but we're going to get into this a little bit more. So Derrell Sims basically had his first alien encounter at the age of approximately 3. Some places say 4, some places say 3, but 3 is more common. I have the full encounter of that a little bit later, which we'll talk about, but I want to just start with synopsis. He then had multiple encounters throughout his childhood, and then eventually had what he considered the first malignant contact at the age of 17. And this basically is when he decided to become the alien hunter by way of Batman and devote his whole life to going from being the quote hunted to the quote hunter.
Does he have like Gotham style villains in his story, but they're like aliens? Like there's an alien, that can produce a laughing gas, let's say, or an alien that has like a painted face that thinks it's really funny when he sprays him with seltzer, but also he's kind of scary because he might hurt you. Did he have stuff like that, or like?
It's funny. Sorry, I'm
picturing this clown as being sort of his like shadow, essentially his antithesis. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And it's funny that you ask that, because he does have a named alien that he interacts with. Awesome. That I found out about, that is not in his like main public bio and stuff. It's in the thing later that we'll get into. And one of the things that there's a detractor of this man that is part of the splinter group of the Houston UFO Network that were like, we can't be around this guy anymore, and left, and then talk shit about him. One of them said, I don't trust anyone who names their aliens. If they name their aliens, they're liars.
Okay.
And that, so like the fact that it's like, yes, he does have a specific like alien nemesis that is named, and people get mad at him about it.
Do you think that he shows up at like UFO conferences and like he'll be talking about hunting aliens and stuff and all these villains that he runs into, and he then eventually starts, devolving into saying, and remember, we don't kill, and everybody in the crowd's like, what do you mean what are you talking about? Kill what? Kill who? And then he kind of snaps back to reality and remembers he's talking about his alien nemesis, and not being the Caped Crusader.
So here is the thing that I should probably say right now. He has one major difference between him and Batman, unless you're in
just
the
one?
Snyderverse. Well, the main difference is that he will kill aliens and tries to, and really wants to.
Okay, so this is like a dark, edgy Batman.
Yes, I mean this, like the Batman comparison is because multiple times in his different bios he talks about how he went down and hunted down specific skills, from hypnotherapy to some harnessing your mind type shit to these like speed learning things. We'll talk about that stuff later, but he basically went and like developed all these supposed skills that he could then use in his hunt for aliens. So like he like, if you believe him, he traveled and got all this like knowledge and shit and whatever the fuck.
Beautiful.
But in reality, it seems like he got a bunch of like fake accreditations and started charging people a lot of money. Yeah. So, yeah. And especially when then this person, supposedly these aliens, started to threaten his then 5-year-old son, this really pushed Derrell Sims into his life of alien hunting. Now,
is his son's name Robin or
no? I don't know this man. I don't know anything about him personally. I've never met the man. I did read some stuff about how his wife and their children kind of don't associate with him anymore.
No, I think you can infer a few things about his personal life.
Look, I don't know if that's true or if that's outdated or anything. It appeared in some passing dirt in the Houston UFO community. So yeah, he started to work on his lifelong pursuit to take out aliens and save the world from the alien threat. Now, there's tinges of this in his public bios. Of this kind of exceptionalism about himself, this like, kind of, main character syndrome. There's that going on really hard. That gets way out of hand later on.
Awesome.
Like his public persona now that he's like doing Discovery Plus series and shit seems to have toned down a little bit from his early days, and he doesn't go that hard into these things anymore, but there is still this like, I was born to save the world from the alien menace kind of exceptionalism. Yeah, so he started to focus pretty heavily on alien abductions and getting research with these aliens, working with the UFO networks, both MUFON and also local ones in Texas, along with all these other things. He also made multiple corporations throughout his life. We talked about this a little bit in the last episode we did. He would start up these like companies that were just incorporated to his house, that he would use to like funnel money and make his like hypnotherapy, alien deprogramming stuff seem legitimate, Yeah. There's a lot of like this corporation, and then it got some bad press, so he starts a new one kind of thing going on throughout his career. So yeah, he is now, he claims to have served in military intelligence, worked with the CIA, also worked as a police officer and as a licensed private investigator. As a teenager, he claims to be gifted at martial arts and eventually became an instructor, though he himself had no formal training, which the wilder version of that I found later is that he supposedly was given a black belt in, I believe, Taekwondo, despite never setting foot in a Taekwondo training facility, which is through the power of like his speed learning thing. He can teach you how to learn really well, supposedly, if you pay him around $500.
Is this oh fuck? What's the method that the super soldiers use? Like, is it
Silva mind control?
Yeah,
it's not
like
exactly that,
okay.
but it's similar. He doesn't use as far as I can tell, he doesn't use anyone else's method. This is just a thing he does. But I didn't find any ties to like Silva or anything, but it's in the same vein. I found a little bit about his background, and the CIA thing I didn't find much on. The military thing, I think he had like a short stint, but never really saw any combat or anything. Like he just was kind of he was like a contractor for a little bit or something. Like it's that thing where his credentials aren't entirely wrong. There's like a kernel of truth to most of them, but they're highly inflated, you know?
Yeah. That's I've been going through a similar thing with Bill Moore, reading his his stuff, because he like a lot of his thing, like his entire thing hinges on whether or not you believe that when he went through the Navy and stuff, he was eventually cleared for like a top secret program and given all this like special access and stuff. And but you know, when you look into like the actual documentation on his service, he was like barely anything.
Yeah, there's so much of that where like, oh yeah, I was like, I did construction work on a military base one time, and all of a sudden they're claiming that they were like a military commander and shit. That stuff's all over the place. But to add to his accreditations, as an adult, he kept several exotic animals, including a tiger and a pet python, which is in his public bio on his website.
Okay.
He also had advanced scuba training, skills with weaponry, and certifications as a master hypnotherapist and certified medical hypnoanesthesiologist, along with studying the art of graphoanalysis.
Sorry, are the exotic animals supposed to be part of his resume or something, or what's that supposed to suggest to me?
Look, I'm just putting it out there because he thought it was important enough to list in his public bio on his website.
I see he put down here to 2 years of exotic animal handling experience. Can you maybe expand on that a little bit and tell us what was your favorite part of handling the tiger?
It's the funny thing is like he lists it between his military experience and the fact that he's like certified in scuba. Yeah. Somehow in between those two things, the thing you need to list is that you owned a tiger and a pet python for a while.
Great. Perfect.
Fine. That totally fine.
No
whatever.
Notes.
And he, you know, he claims his methods, what he claims is that he approaches every alien abduction as a crime scene. Every element from the victor's demeanor to forensic traces in the environment is a vital clue in solving the alien mystery. So he thinks of himself as like a profiler of aliens, probably because he's just like, you know, a fan of like which one is the profiling show? Fucking Numbers? Is that the pro one?
I have no idea.
There's probably a million of them now, but Criminal Minds maybe, I don't know. But it's ludicrous. This bio is absurd. I'm baffled by this man. I got so down a rabbit hole of like trying to figure out, like, I'm sure if I went deep on other people like this, I would find that this guy wouldn't stand out as hard. But it's just the way he talks about himself is absurd.
Yeah. I mean, I think really it's like, I'm not surprised by him so much because like the UFO grift is really fucking strong. Like you can just make a living doing that shit. Apparently, like if you get yourself out there, like if you become prominent enough, you can, I guess, live off of UFO money, which is crazy. But I think what is more shocking to me is the idea that there's anybody out there just like believing him, like in his totality. Like I guess like maybe you could see him on like a Discovery Channel show as a talking head and be like, oh yeah, okay, I'm with it. But you'd think that as soon as you would read the shit that you're describing right now, you'd be like, something doesn't seem right here. But I'm gonna. I guess it's just UFO truthers are just like, I don't know, some of the most credulous people out there. I have to remember that.
Yeah, the weird thing here is like I kind of see the people that believe him, it seems, think of him as like really adhering to science and looking at everything from a very scientific point of view. And because when they do the implant stuff, when they take an implant out, they supposedly send it to these like very official sounding labs, and they get independently tested and corroborated and stuff, which I have some information about. And it sounds very official and upstanding and important. And then he can then take those things that are very blown up shards of tiny little pieces of metal or whatever, and put them really big at a UFO convention. Like, we took this thing out of the body of an abductee, and I guess it sounds wild. Like, it sounds, I guess, fantastical and like he's doing it right, but he's not. He's not.
I believe you. I believe you.
So, yeah, I just want to get into the stuff here because this is. I found this article. Will the real Derrell Sims stand up? From the Houston Press, Volume 8, number 22, from 1996, which is maybe one of my new favorite things that I've ever found when researching, just because it is such an insight into a time in a specific place of a group of people in the UFO community. Because what this is Derrell Sims went on to I think it was like a local news station, and did an interview about cattle mutilations and some like buzzy UFO topics of the time. And it seemed to like pique someone's curiosity, and they basically assigned an investigative reporter who worked for the Houston Press to just dig into Derrell Sims. And it is just, the stuff they found is really fun, is really interesting to me. It's a good time. So at the time, the chief investigator on this case was looking into Derrell Sims. I couldn't find the person who wrote his name, because this is on a Wayback Machine archive of an article from like 96. But the person that is writing this, they're following up on the fact that Derrell Sims had been on the cover of UFO magazine. He'd been on this interview for the network they worked for. And they said he has videos on sale, a 900 number offering alien updates, a worldwide webpage called Alien Hunter, and an autobiography in the works, which he intends to call Confessions of an Alien Hunter, which I do believe exists.
Okay.
So the fact that he had a 900 number at the time that just was like, you call it and pay money to have just like the newest like tidbits about aliens he's found out told to you. Do you remember these 900 numbers?
It's vaguely familiar.
Think of it like the Nintendo tip line.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I got you.
He had one of those for alien bits in the 1990s.
So as he got new information, you could call that and like get alien
the newest
tips?
Updates. Yeah, the newest alien hot goss,
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Which I'm guessing there were probably multiple of these out there. This is the first one I've come across, and especially when I'm looking into the guy.
I'm sorry, I had to pull because I looked to see if the alienhunter.com is still up. It definitely is.
Oh, it is. That's the website I'm talking about.
And I just wanted to see what this guy looked like, and now I have a face to the name, and it is wonderful. So
he looks like a guy that would call himself the Alien Hunter. That's all we're gonna say. So, this person that did this whole expose thing was one of the first reporters to do any real interviews with Mr. Sims after he started to get some buzz. He began their first ever interview. This is one of the first public interviews he gave to like an actual thing about, because he's starting to get some acclaim. He started this whole interview by saying that he could kill that interviewer in an instant and there'd be nothing that they could do.
This is, oh my God. This is, oh fuck. What's the name of the guy who is in all the like 80s, 90s shitty action
Steven Seagal?
This is the Steven Seagal of the UFO world.
Yeah, it seems like it, because he then went on to describe his intergalactic battle with the alien leader known as Mondoz.
Now, did Mondoz get him in a particularly nasty hold and Derrell shit his pants or anything like that?
Look, Derrell was keeping a knife in his boot, just in case Mondoz shot at him.
Naturally.
Okay, so this is So Mondoz seems to be the big bad in the Alien Hunter universe. There's some stuff about him later that specifically, but that is the big antagonist that he would talk about and would supposedly have like communications for, and like all this stuff. The main character of his Alien universe, that his detractors are like, fuck this guy, because Mondoz is like a ridiculous kind of being. And there's like this weird parallel that we'll get to. You know how, okay, actually this is a fun thing to set up right now. I'm just going to tell you, there is a chance that Derrell Sims was influenced by a somewhat popular sci-fi property in regards to his intergalactic war. So just have that in the back of your mind and see if you ever kind of think about what that might be.
Okay.
I'm curious if you will pick up on it. So, all right. So, the original article about Derrell Sims that the newspaper posted got like shifted into section D of the newspaper. It was not like a front page thing. It didn't make the front of the paper. And this seemed to piss off the Houston UFO community, specifically Derrell Sims.
Of course.
Normally, I wouldn't tell you where an article appeared in a paper, but here it's important to the drama. Am I entering like the era where I just really want to get into like UFO drama?
No,
in
UFO
fighting?
drama's fun. It's kind of something that I've been sort of trying to tease out with all the Richard Doty stuff. So, did I say Bill Moore, or what was it? I said Bill Moore earlier when I meant Milton Cooper.
Yeah.
So Milton Cooper is what I meant earlier. Bill Moore is what I mean now when I was talking about military service stuff. But yeah, like the fallout of like, I think my first taste of like the true like top level UFO drama was Bill Moore at MUFON 89 revealing that he was working with the government, like that, and all the drama from that. Like that I love that shit. So I'm here for the UFO drama. Any you can find, please dump it in my lap.
Yeah. Well, here let's keep going then, because this turned into a bit of a little thing about this reporter coming in, interviewing Derrell Sims, and then them feeling disrespected by that article's place in the newspaper, to the point where Derrell's second in command at the time wrote a kind of letter or note to the editor or something about this, and that stated, while I do not know what the author's personal reasons are for their dislike of Mr. Sims, it is clear that he is on a vendetta. Reports from people he has questioned seem to indicate that much of what Mr. Patterson plans to write is very close to, if not liable. Now, liable for what? He never says, but it's this weird, like, open-ended, like, kind of threat, but not really.
Yeah.
And it basically just like, it seems like your reporter has a personal vendetta against my guy, like, which is just not, it doesn't seem to be true. So this led to basically the reporter getting turned out of HUFON. That like no one at HUFON really wanted to do a lot with them because this guy had said negative things about Derrell Sims. But what he did find was this kind of small band of outcasts in the Houston UFO community, who eventually go on to call themselves Spoofon, as like, because they're like really sick of how like super serious and joyless Derrell Sims version of the HUFON was, that they just started like doing bits and like being like, we're not going to take anything seriously. We just think the UFO stuff's interesting, and started SpoofOn. So that's a fun little side effect of this.
I've never heard of that. That's truly amazing.
Yeah. So this group of outcasts that eventually became SpoofOn were the people that started to let this reporter into the world of Derrell Sims. The sentiment of this crew was Derrell Sims is destroying the credibility of the UFO field. They all kind of had left HUFON approximately 3 years previously, and they left quietly because Derrell Sims was just like a local problem. He wasn't really anything, but he had kind of taken over the local chapter, and they didn't want to be a part of it. But now that he was getting popular and like starting to like become a name, they came out and of the woodwork and decided to share their stories. And the reporter says that they told their Derrell stories and turned over their Derrell files. Like, these people had fucking receipts.
Oh my God.
They also then gave the reporter names of people who Derrell Sims had either worked with or like investigated for, who would talk to him. And he started with a woman named Rebecca Shaddy, who was a real estate agent turned internet paranormal reporter, who... She's the one that straight up was, I have trouble with people who name their aliens. Derrell's a fraud, and I expose frauds.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So she starts to tell these stories about how Derrell Sims has become the quote unquote abductee chairman of HUFON's abductee support group. So basically, he runs shit. He runs the abductee support groups. And the membership is kept secret, and they meet in like a secret time and place and all this stuff. And only abductees are allowed in the meetings, and only Derrell Sims can certify that you are an abductee.
Okay.
He was known to brag that he could do that just by looking at you.
Oh my God.
But he then also had a series of tools and tests that he would use to certify whether or not you are actually an alien abductee. And Kyle, would you be surprised that there is a kind of a split path at one point that is determined by your genitals?
Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. I was going to make a joke that he was going to do some anal probing. But oh God. I shouldn't be surprised by this.
So the first test, after just like the ocular pat down that he does, I guess.
Oh no.
It is to analyze your handwriting.
Okay. Because you have to be naked for that, or what?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, there's no. As far as I can tell, there is no like physical abuse involved in this. There's just different questions if you have a penis than if you have a vagina later.
Sure.
So that's as far as it goes. I don't want to make it. I don't like. There's enough to yell at this guy about without adding stuff.
Okay.
So, he then would go on to what he called symbolic profiling, which involved him evaluating the shape of your face and observing the way you look as you told your story. He thought that if you didn't look up, that would indicate that you aren't making it up. So it's like his like. It's like he's doing lie to me. It's like he's like reading. He's thinking he can read like your micro expressions and shit.
Oh, okay,
and
I thought it was like abductee phrenology.
I mean, there's an element to it because it does seem to deal with the shape of your face.
Jesus.
But it's more of this like he's watched too many cop shows where the cop like leaves the room after they do an interrogation. It's like, do you see how he was like tapping? He was picking at his index finger. That means he's lying, like it feels much more like that, because the thing that it feels like he wants the most is to be seen as a badass. That seems to be kind of the driving force of a lot of this stuff, from his alien hunter persona to the way he writes about himself to the way he talks about some of his stuff later. But yeah, so after he assesses your micro expressions and face shape, he then has you undergo an IQ test, because this is supposedly a quote from a brochure that he had at the time. Certain levels of intelligence are not likely to make up convincing stories.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure, whatever. I don't care.
Some people are too dumb to lie, I guess. That's look. The superiority complex of this of it all is like you could dig into that all you want and feel free. But then there's also a personality profile, and then what he called the alleged alien encounter questionnaire. At its earliest stages, that questionnaire included questions such as: have you ever heard buzzing sounds you could not account for? And have you ever seen lights flash in your eyes that you could not explain? So it's like, it almost seems like he's trying to like hone in on like specific details of things so people can't just give the most generic abduction story or something. But it seems very ill put together. But then over time, the questionnaire started to grow, and that's when it eventually started to look into about cases of excessive fingernail growth, allergic reactions to Novocaine, and words or terms you feel you know which have no real meaning to you. And also then they added a section for men only, which is a section that addresses what's going on in your scrotum. And then the section for women only, which I swear this is just a quote from the book brochure.
I can't wait.
Do you ever have sexual fantasies about powerful, small, or dark men who make love and walk away?
And he doesn't want to ask this question to the men.
I guess not. Look, this... I wish someone had a copy of this thing that I could see, because some of this feels like goes so far. But yeah, this is supposedly that was his methodology.
I heard that I heard that the people who all got instantly into his inner circle of abductees under the option to check for sex, they all wrote yes please.
Yeah, that's but that answer would put you below the IQ where you can make up a convincing story. So it's really kind of a weird mix.
There's
for people.
Pros and cons to taking those people in.
Jesus Christ, this is so. If you actually get certified as an abductee by Derrell Sims, you would then be able to purchase treatments like hypnotherapy treatments and stuff from him, and these other like fast learning experience. Like he had a bunch of different grifts.
Can I put that certification on LinkedIn?
I mean, you can. Okay. I don't know if it'll get you a job, but go ahead.
I'm maybe looking to pivot careers here. So
yeah, look, he supposedly basically his whole hypnotherapy practice was a lazy boy in his apartment or in his house, where they would all just sit down on this lazy boy and get hypnotized by him.
The couch kind of lazy boy. I thought you were calling
like
Derrell.
recliner.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, he had a lazy boy brand recliner that seems to be the focus of where all of his like hypnotherapy sessions were. He would then so he would put you under supposedly to get more details about your abduction, try to get anything that you have like repressed or whatever. But the way that this reporter talks about it, he would like sit people down who just like saw a cat in a tree at night or saw a light in the sky, and then he would use hypnosis to see through what he called the screen memory, which was left by the aliens who were like doing stuff to you. And he would then tell you, it seems like basically he would put you into hypnotherapy. You would go under thinking that something weird maybe happened to you. And then he would have an entire elaborate story that he would have you believing by the end of it. That seems to be what's happening here.
So this doesn't matter whether or not like the people in hypnotherapy actually like came up, like said this story. Like he would tell you once you're out of hypnotherapy, like, hey, this is what happened to you. Is that what you're saying?
He would do a lot of, it seems like it's a lot of like leading question stuff where it's like, where was the alien craft did the alien craft then come down above your car? Yeah, it did. Like that kind of thing, where it's just it's the same fucking shit that led to the Satanic Panic.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, that's just how he did his hypnotic regressions. He'd put you in his lazy boy, then basically tell you a whole story about how you were abducted and are maybe a part of his like Mondas canon.
Oh my God.
So he would of course charge for all these services. Rebecca Shaddy actually hired a private eye to look into him, and they were unable to find, outside of just like businesses that just basically were incorporated to his house and didn't have anything else really going for them, there was no criminal record or any like tax issues or anything. He seemed to be, as far as it goes, not doing anything explicitly illegal, just kind of taking advantage of people who might think they were
grifting.
Abducted. Yeah, he was just grifting. So he has some ties to Bud Hopkins, who he kind of he works with and everything. They're both part of some like the similar circles and everything. And Shaddy did some like basically cornered Bud Hopkins and to get hypnotized by him. And the story that Bud Hopkins got out of her, she then was able to prove it physically could not have been true. Basically, that the story was that she got abducted along this road years ago, and she then, after the fact, the highway that she was going on didn't even exist at the time. Like the place that like Bud Hopkins just basically led her to a totally false story and tried to charge her a bunch of money for it.
I gotcha.
And this is just how she looked into how these people do these kinds of things. So basically she's saying Bud Hopkins and Derrell Sims have the same methods of these like leading hypnotherapy sessions that will have you just believing this sensational story that you think you uncovered, but they're actually like leading you through with questionings and stuff like that.
Bud Hopkins, I can't hear the name without thinking about our episode about the Disneyland ride.
Yeah,
because of Garrett. Everybody telling us that we were saying Butt Hopkins and how that devolved. I think of Bud Hopkins and I think of all that, and it makes me laugh every time.
Yeah. So, something else that I think you might find humorous.
Oh, good.
The alien hunter himself, he claims to hail from a line of warriors that date back to the King of England.
Okay, all right.
He does not say which king.
Uh-huh.
But eventually his family ended up in Alamogordo, New Mexico. And he grew up in the middle of like the Cold War near the White Sands testing range. So like he kind of grew up in this weird nuclear thing. So like, there might be there's a reason he might fear the sky a little bit.
It's not going to be a Cold War out there. It's going to be a hot war. Alamogordo.
Yeah.
It's hot out there.
So not only is he hailed from a line of kings, he also says that his aliens have been harassing his family for about approximately 100 years. And he saw these UFOs swoop down over like one of the missile tests that he saw as a kid. And then the aliens then came for him when he was 3 years old. And then he started to do research into the implants and everything. This is where we get into his actual biography. He was training to be a military policeman in 1968. When the CIA recruited him and sent him to work in covert operations. This is what he claims in interviews back then. The covert operations had something to do with raising lions and tigers, he would recall, but Sims was very vague about it, and his actual military record only shows that he was an MP or military policeman for 3 years and had no real particular distinction. So the CIA stuff is probably bullshit. The military policeman stuff is technically true, but anything beyond that is probably made up. Yeah, so I don't know where this thing with the lions came from, but he seems to have like this thing of like sticking lions and tigers into his stories, maybe because it sounds cool. I don't really know.
It is pretty badass. Can you imagine the aliens coming back to what's his enemy named Zordon or whatever?
Mondas.
Can you imagine Mondas like fucking coming back and mistakenly like going to the British royal family thinking that he was still there, not knowing that is the family who moved to Alamogordo, and he just like fucking zaps King Charles or whatever. That would have been kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, hey, we don't know that didn't happen.
Remember, this isn't. This is this is a non-British podcast that all our British listeners are going to have to fucking adapt. So yeah, that's right. We're zapping King Charles. Deal with it. Well, we're not. Mondaz is. So
yeah. So then we can get into. He has had 8 different businesses throughout his history. The first of the 8 was called Parallax Enterprises, which didn't really know, they couldn't figure out what that was supposed to be doing. Then there was a construction company, then a financial associates company. Then he got deep into new age stuff and claimed to know enough stuff about the quote latest brain research to start running a thing called accelerated learning systems. And this is where he really takes off. His accelerated learning systems course offered answers to questions such as who are you? Why are you here? Who do you wish to become? The secrets lay in his quantum holographic techniques.
What the fuck?
So Mr. Sims claimed that using this ALS technique, he earned a black belt in Japanese karate. So it's karate, not taekwondo. I was wrong earlier.
Okay.
Without ever taking any lessons, a feat no human has done prior. Supposedly, he became a scuba diving instructor the same way, and he claims that with his special technique, he could teach you everything he knows about scuba diving and karate in just 5 minutes. So he had these like different tiers. There was super learning, optimal learning, and peak experience learning, which I'm assuming peak experience learning would be the best one. Then, according to a flyer that he put out for this business in 1989, he said Sims had learned that, quote, you probably use less than 1% of your total brain capacity, and he could definitely help you use a lot more of that for approximately $220. So, yeah.
Are people who've purchased that seeing results, or...
They could not find anyone that has ever actually been ALS trained by this man.
That's a bummer. They must have gotten off planet with those clever brains.
Yeah, they must have. They're
or Zordon
keeping their mouth shut. Yeah, it really is weird how like he's had all these businesses and stuff, and the investigative reporter here has like tried to look in and like interview as many people as possible. Could not find people that have done anything with most of these businesses. So this is what I was talking about earlier about his wife and daughter. This is just straight from the article. Sims' wife, Doris, has almost never been seen at meetings. And as for his teenage son, Sims told his new friends the aliens had wrecked him. Basically, his son is telling their friends that aliens has wrecked his father.
So Zardoz got between him and his son?
Maybe spending all of his time trying to research alien implants is not making him the best father. Yeah. I'm not entirely sure about that. That's just here. But he supposedly would start a lot of his meetings and like introduce himself by like shaking your hand and saying, "Hi, I'm a warrior."
Oh my god! So I want to see one of these fucking seminars. I gotta go.
So, the Houston UFO Network gradually grew to approximately 150 members, and Sims, being an early kind of adopter in it, got to be pretty powerful inside of this organization. He became the abductee chairman. He started another company called Saber Enterprises, which we talked a little bit about last week or 2 weeks ago, and Saber Enterprises bills itself as a laboratory and research center. But there's absolutely no record of it ever being anything more than a post office box and incorporated at Sims's home address.
Beautiful.
This is where he supposedly works as a certified hypnotherapist.
Okay.
And his hypnotherapy accreditation is from a like what do they call them? Degree mills. It's one of those places where you just basically like pay a fee and they'll send you a degree. So he has his certification is not medical in any way, shape, or form here. But he would begin hypnotizing members of the HUFON organization for approximately $395 each before then certifying them too in hypnotherapy. So he turned it into like a pyramid scheme of hypnotherapy in the Houston UFO community. And he would tell people that he worked with that he needs the money to go after the aliens, and no one that works with him is doubts that he's serious about those aliens, you know? So he and they described his attitude as being like he wanted to amass an army to fight against the aliens. That was like his vibe. He also supposedly, while working with Saber Enterprises or under the Saber Enterprises banner, he was said to have created a stun gun to neutralize aliens. He then also would pass out wanted posters with like gray aliens on them that said, if you have any information concerning the activities of these individuals, please contact Derrell Sims, and had like so he would like plaster up wanted posters about aliens to try to get information, which is then the next fucking paragraph. A HUFON member, his approach is very, very scientific. He really did know what he was talking about. His work was of a higher caliber than other UFO researchers.
Okay.
Yeah. So, there was some kind of drama around this. There was this thing where Derrell Sims claimed that every year he would go on this camping trip.
Finally, we're getting to some drama.
And every year on his camping trip, he claims that he would get abducted. And this led to a group of people going on this camping trip with him, and a guy named Moser, who was, I think, another person in the HUFON, maybe. And nothing happened. But all of a sudden, Sims became quite ill, or at least he claimed to be. And as the way he told it later, it was the aliens at work urging him telepathically to go get help for himself so they could have their way with his comrades. But he refused to retreat, and that is why the aliens never came. They were afraid to come there while he was there.
I take back everything I said. This man's a hero.
Yeah, it's the whole like, oh, aliens didn't come because they're too afraid of me is just a wild pitch for me, you know?
God.
Yeah. So he then would say that, they're not necessarily just afraid of me. It's because it's because I've been chosen by God. He has this kind of, this Messiah complex. He is the chosen one to fight against the evil Mondas, and he is here just to really fight the good fight.
I can't believe it took us almost an hour to get to the God stuff. That's really fucking wild.
Yeah, we probably could have gotten there a little earlier because I think he has some stuff about God on his website, but he's very, very main character syndrome. Like he really believes that he is the only person that can save the world from Mondas. So this is an abduction story that he supposedly, I think, uncovered for one of the guys, Moser, that was on the camp out with him. He started to God. Okay, so I'm just going to read this. Let's see. It occurred. The first of two abductions occurred before the meeting that the reporter met this guy at. He was led from his bedroom out the driveway by a gray alien wearing a tool belt. They were beamed up, and he was told on the mothership to get naked. He was led through a series of rooms in which he saw a few of his HUFON chums, along with a dinosaur and aliens who looked like monks and cockroaches, and even like Bigfoot. They then shoved a thing up his nose, which was an eavesdropping device. He then was deposited back down, went to the meeting, and had a nosebleed, which is why I believe the nosebleed is what caused Derrell Sims to like figure out that this guy had been abducted, or at least tell him he was. And then he later had a second nosebleed, which was when the aliens removed the device. And then Derrell Sims hypnotized him and uncovered all of this stuff. So this guy, the aliens are abducting people in this Houston UFO network to get listening devices implanted in them to spy on Derrell Sims' meetings because he's so goddamn special. So, Also, Mondoz is sending him messages through other people, other contactees in this contactee group. Basically, the way it comes off is he's using this Houston UFO Network group of like certified abductees to like play out his fantasy battle with this alien menace. And so like he's under hypnosis having them deliver messages to him from Mondoz that he is uncovering using hypnotherapy, and like making people believe they were abducted so that they could be implanted with chips to spy on his meetings, and then they get abducted again and get it taken out. Like and he's got these people just like convinced of all this shit.
This is maybe one of the most aggressive grifts we've seen on the show. Like that's insane.
It's really extensive. It's absurd. And like every time you see a price point, it's at least like $200, if not $500.
But like the thing is, it's kind of hard to fuck with this grift, at least from the like implant evidence standpoint, because like, you know, I don't know. It's just he can put up a convincing facade if you're a UFO truther. I mean, sorry, I have the website up now, and I was just kind of looking at his stuff again, and it's like, I don't know. It's just a lot of unfalsifiable stuff and things that just seem. I don't know. This is really wild.
Speaking of unfalsifiable stuff, let's talk about the mass abduction event of December 8th, 1992, which was orchestrated by one Derrell Sims. So, supposedly Mondoz simultaneously abducted a bunch of Houston UFO people from different locations, all at the same time, to a UFO. One woman saw Jesus on this UFO. Another one spoke with her dead brother. A third was handed silverware when she said she was hungry. And supposedly one person got their finger cut off, but then the aliens sewed it back on. And they found out about this because a secretary of Hufan fell asleep at her desk, and when she was rubbing her eyes, this thing plopped down on the desk beside her. This has become known as the ocular implant, and Sims supposedly had it examined by the University of Houston, and it had quote-unquote rare earth metals on it, or rare metals in it, so it became this kind of central part of his PowerPoint presentations for shit. But basically, what he says is that he orchestrated a mass abduction to, like, basically learn more about the UFOs. He was able to, by staging this mass UFO event where he got a bunch of his Houston UFO guys abducted, where they saw this shit. It was all done so he could find information about the aliens such as that they quote unquote make careless errors and appear to have low IQs, so they can be tricked. Look, this stuff is fucking weird.
Low IQ aliens.
Yeah, he basically like ran this big grift on all these people and then was like, "Oh, I got you all abducted so I could find out aliens are kind of dumb." It's baffling.
I have no words. This guy's fucking crazy.
Yeah. He just is like this is just a quote that I found in this article that I really liked. After doing a bunch of interviews with people that worked with him and like would run UFO conventions he would speak at and everything, the line, I've heard since that the most dangerous place in the world is between a microphone and Derrell Sims. Basically, this guy will do anything to talk at people. So basically, there are a bunch of people that had been kind of cast out of Hufan over the years of his reign of grift, that they were all like kind of whispering amongst themselves and talking and everything. And then once this guy got any level of national acclaim, they all just came out of the woodwork to fucking roast this guy. Now, it doesn't seem like it worked because he's still like a talking head on shit and seems to still exist in the UFO community and everything. But it made for a fun fucking article. There were people, even some people that believed in Derrell Sims and stuff, had a kind of a negative reaction to this mass abduction event. They thought, and I quote, "You don't challenge the devil." This was one who worked with him on like these like weekend courses or some shit named Max Washburn. They also said that various other people said that he was under the impression that Derrell Sims suffered from delusions of grandeur, which is that's on par for the rest of the stuff.
That sounds about right.
But when they then tried to take some of this information that they had found out to the HUFON group and present it and kind of try to like break this thing up a little bit, and when Shaddy took the information that she'd uncovered to the along with some information on mental health professionals to the support group, an abductee came stood up and started shouting, just shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. And they all just started to yell at Rebecca Shaddy and like not get like violent or anything, but just started to like really not hear any of it. And Sims was just sitting there quietly throughout most of it. But eventually he lunged across the table they were all sitting around with, and I quote, like Charles Manson on amphetamines. And that's when the dissenters that were coming into the place decided to get the fuck out of there.
Oh my God.
So he does not like to be questioned, it seems like.
Oh God, don't let him find that. Don't let him hear this episode.
Yeah. It's look, this is all this stuff was like 30 years ago at this point almost. So he I don't know how many of these things are still current, but it's fucking wild. Yeah, this is where it gets into a bit of stuff with Roger Lear. So Roger Lear, we talked about a couple weeks ago. He's the foot doctor that got roped into UFO stuff by Derrell Sims, which I found out that's how it happened. It is Derrell Sims was the guy, and he brought in Roger Lear basically because he needed someone to operate on a foot, and then Roger Lear was interested enough that he became part of the whole thing, and they started that company together and all that kind of stuff. So this is where I get into some of the stuff on the lab testing. So one of his big things is that all of these implants he's taken out. He's taken out like 10 implants from 7 surgeries or whatever. And he always sends them to get independently tested. So he would send them to what he called the Texas Center of Superconductivity at UH, apparently along with a couple other laboratories, one of which was his house, we found out already. So when people started looking into some of these organizations, first of which that university is a real thing, but he sent them in not mentioning at all what he thought they were. He just sent them in as random test subjects, so it was not treated as if it were alien material whatsoever. And the university was talked to, and they said they basically would not, that he was pretty sure no one on the campus would ever deal with Derrell Sims again because they were not trying to advocate that any of this stuff was alien material whatsoever. But then now, supposedly, at least at the time of the writing of this article, he was using a thing called Warren Laboratories, which he claims is a very, very large corporate laboratory that is accredited and all this stuff. It is a small herbal extract business in Stafford, California. Okay. They make herbal extracts, okay. And so like this is just like a thing that he met a guy that had a lab to do something, and now he sends like, so basically you are never going to get the lab tests for Derrell Sims's alien implants.
Sure, like I wouldn't expect to.
You're never going to see the full thing because he is doing them under false pretenses, and the lab testing wouldn't corroborate what he wants it to. So, yeah, this is just... Oh, sorry. One of the last things that I supposedly at one point, the video of the first surgery was just available on one of their websites for $30. And in that video, you would be just shocked like me to find they literally... how they found where to dig into this woman's toe was with a stud finder.
What?
They use a stud finder to find the implant inside of this woman's toe before they spend like 45 minutes just digging around in there.
Oh, God.
Oh, sorry. We're fishing, Derrell. It's like going fishing is the full quote.
No, it's surgery. It's nothing like that.
Yeah. So, once all the alien implant stuff came out, they start the outcast group officially called themselves Spoofon, which they say stands for nothing except their refusal to take anyone seriously. They gather for breakfast occasionally over pancakes and coffee. They discuss UFOs and alien abduction, which honestly sounds like a fun way to start the morning. I would hang out with Spoofon.
Get a cup of coffee with the Spoofon guys. Sure.
Yeah. So this is like, I cannot speak for Derrell Sims' entire career.
Oh.
I did not research anything beyond this article was published in 1996. There's not a lot of deep exposés on him beyond that I've found. If you find any, I would love to read them. But this is a pretty complete dive into a certain era of his career that sounds awful. Like,
yeah,
this shit sucks. He's taking advantage of people, grifting them, just fucking taking control of a Houston UFO network and just like driving out anyone who dares question him. It's it's a bit wild. So yeah, that has been most of my deep dive into the world of the alien hunter Derrell Sims, and specifically his an era of his tyrannical reign over the Houston UFO scene.
Does he still interact with the Houston UFO people? Do you know, or is he?
I don't know if HUFON exists right now. I think like at least the website that he was tied to went down at some point. But they might still have one. That like there are still UFO networks in Texas. I just don't know if the specific
I
one
know that like
part of it still
MUFON has chapters in different states and stuff. Like Indiana has its own chapter, for instance. But I don't know. It just how do you recover from that? Like how does I don't know.
You got to rethink some things. You got to think.
Yeah. I'll say it. Derrell Sims kind of sounds like a jerk.
Look, he's the only one that can stop us from being sought upon by the evil Lord Mondas.
He's a jerk, now, but he is the hero that we need.
The thing, look, there's some details and stuff that maybe would have led to it better. There's a theory that he got most of his Mondas stuff by
can I
basically
guess?
Cribbing. Yeah, go ahead.
Is it V?
No, that's like shapeshifter replacement stuff. It is something. It is an active sci-fi franchise in movies right now.
Doctor Who.
No.
Oh, then I don't know.
Dune.
Oh, what? What the fuck? No,
that a lot of the Lord Mondas stuff. People say has been might have been cribbed from Dune.
Okay,
because he gets into like I didn't get into it as much. Sorry, he gets into like some energies and stuff in his New Age era that the way he interprets them is not entirely unlike Spice. And so it's this whole thing of like him harnessing the brain energies to like expand his consciousness and stuff and his advanced learning stuff. People like it has this weird like superpowery Spice part to it, and people then got it too. Okay. People started to
put it together. Yeah. So Derrell Sims is the Kwisatz Haderach is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Great.
Yeah. So do you want a big question?
Absolutely, Niall.
All right. If you were trying to make a living as a UFO researcher, but also get to be a talking head on a bunch of sensationalized alien shows, what would your title be, like the Alien Hunter, that shows you are truly an expert in your field?
Oh, boy. It's very interesting.
I love like a good lower third. We watch wrestling along with like all the UFO documentaries and shit that I've come across. And like when you see one that just really takes you off guard, like... I wish I could remember some of the ones that have been out there, but there's like expert on like some toy line from a specific like discontinued toy line from 2003. It's like, how do you get that accreditation? But, so I like a good bottom third.
Okay. So Derrell Sims, the Alien Hunter.
Yeah.
What would I be? I think it would be kind of fun to be, Kyle, the alien fucker.
Okay.
So, I'm talking about I'm like the love guru.
Okay, so you are using it in the sexual sense. Okay.
Yeah. I'm going to be the expert on how to have sex with all the different races of aliens out there. You know, what styles they like, what kind of stuff they're working with down there.
The Don Juan de Mantids, so to speak.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So I think it would be cool to like have a panel where I'm like, you know, describing in graphic detail different sexual acts with aliens, you know.
Now, is it just humanoids or is it non-humanoids as well?
It can, you know, whatever's willing, you know, okay. whatever's consenting, we'll figure it out, and we'll have a whole report that we can bring to Awakening Expo 2024.
All right.
And because, you know, I am legitimately fascinated by the people out there who who claim to be abductees and have made love to aliens, but I'm thinking that something that really ought to be brought to the forefront of ufology is the sort of free love movement. So I'm advocating for free love with extraterrestrial beings and interdimensional beings and ultra-terrestrial beings, you know, things like that. So I that's kind of where I'd like to, you know,
that's where you want to go.
Flag,
okay,
if you will. Yeah.
Look, look, I'll leave that territory completely free for you. You can go on your intergalactic fuck fiesta all you want. Sounds like a good time. And
it might not always be a good time. There might be some species out there. It's do not want to hook up with a reptilian.
Do you know there's a comic with basically that premise?
No.
It's not a porn comic. It's like an actual comic. It's called what is it called? Money Shot. And it's a group of scientists who aren't getting funded for a lot of their research. So they band together to go fuck aliens to start a porn site that will like generate money for them to do actual science.
Okay. Well, that's where I'm trying to sort of, you know.
Yeah. What I'm saying is there's precedent, you know?
Yeah, sure. Definitely.
So it's good. Now, I like to go in a slightly different direction. I want my bottom third to have an air of mystery to it, and also be kind of snappy and everything. So what I was thinking of was just going under the Orgon anomaly.
Wait, you are the Orgon anomaly.
Yeah, because okay. I love a bottom third that you read it and it does not tell you it makes you want to know more, but doesn't give you any actual information about what I do.
Sure.
The mystery is a lot of the fun, and the kind of like non sequiturness of it is a lot of the fun when it comes to these things. So I think I'm going to go with the Orgon anomaly.
Now, see, I obviously can't say exactly what you would do as the Orgon anomaly, but we know Wilhelm Reich, who discovered Orgon energy, the energy that you get from having really good orgasms. You and I could have like a duo panel situation going at, you know, a UFO conference. Mm-hmm. You know, obviously never clear exactly what you do, but you do work with Orgon, and maybe we could do some demonstrations. I have like a gray up on the table with us, and you're just kind of,
and
like,
I just blast it with an Orgon blaster.
Yeah,
I fucking just
yeah,
blow it to shreds.
Yeah. So
first you blow it, and then I blow it to shreds. That's our look. It's a 1-2 punch. It's a duo act. We're good to go.
I was gonna make the same fucking joke, and you were just faster than me. Damn it. Yeah. We're gonna. That sounds like a great sort of duo that we could start bringing to.
We can even sell like a splash zone ticket, you know?
Yeah, that's the splash zone for both acts.
Yeah,
the blowing up and the blowing. So
yeah,
cool, great. Well,
so that's also going to be part of Z Enterprises.
That's
coming out 2024.
Perfect.
So, all right, do you want to take care of some business?
Absolutely.
All right, so if you want to follow us on, I'm not calling it that. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it's at IGW Podcast.
You can follow us on Facebook.com/ItGetsWeirdPodcast.
And we're on all your favorite podcatchers, from Google Play to Apple Podcasts to Spotify to, really, if you listen to a podcast somewhere, look up It Gets Weird, and we're probably there.
Follow us on Twitch.tv/ItGetsWeird. We're streaming on there sometimes. usually on weekends, so go check it out. Email us at itgetsweirdpodcast@gmail.com. What's your favorite alien to have sex with? We want to know.
Do you have any ins on good like UFO community drama? Like send that shit our way.
That's the actual question. Which there is plenty. Oh my God, I'm sure people have some good stuff out there. So please send us the UFO drama. Patreon.com/itgetsweird. We have a $2 tier and a $5 tier. At the $2 tier, you're getting access to It Gets Weird TV, a bonus show where every other week we talk about a weird TV show. Right now, we are finishing up season 1 of The X-Files. So if that sounds cool, go check it out. But we have a whole back catalog of shows there. At the $5 level, you get access to It Gets Weird TV plus another bonus show in the off weeks of It Gets Weird TV. So you're getting bonus content every single week. Whether you donate to the $2 tier or the $5 tier, you get access to the main show 2 days early on Friday instead of Sunday. And you get access to our Discord where we're hanging out, talking about UFO drama and gossip, real shit, all kinds of fun shit. So please, if that sounds fun, donate to the Patreon. We also have a $1 tier that it's just a tip. You don't get anything out of it. You're just saying, hey, I like what you guys do. Here's a tip for doing it. Thank you. If you can't donate, please tell your friends, tell your enemies, tell your congressman all about It Gets Weird podcast.
All right. Thank you all for supporting the show. This has been It Gets Weird, and I've been Niall.
And I'm Kyle signing out. Peace.